This is Good Morning Delhi with Chris.
It's past 9. I'm Chris, and yes, with me in the studio this morning I've got Justin Davis. Good morning, Justin. How you doing?
Good morning.
Great career. We'll talk about it. I've had people from the Foreign Service, veterans, who've come in and spoken about it at length. But let's get what young Justin here has to say about that. Bobby Brown coming up right now. You like this one?
Absolutely. My prerogative, man.
Your prerogative.
Yeah.
All right. Bobby Brown it
Do you
is.
think it benefits a country to be so diverse?
Absolutely, Chris. I mean, I think that, diversity really...
And we're talking social, we're talking economic,
Everything.
we're talking political.
Everything, Chris. I mean, I think it's incredibly important because what it does is that it allows people to learn from each other. And I think the world functions because we're able to learn from one another. We're able to, deal with people's differences, accept people for who they are. We're able to have good conversation. We're able to try different things. I just think the world would be bland, Chris, if everybody did the same, said the same thing, and were the same.
I think that's interesting because, I think because even Indians are able to get around quite a bit because there's so much diversity at home itself.
Absolutely.
So when they face more diversity outside, it's nothing new.
It's nothing new. It's like just living anywhere else.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting thought. I'm very intrigued by, you did a thesis, if I'm not mistaken, on Martin Luther King.
Yeah, I did some work when I was in grad school.
And hang on a second, you're from Cornell.
Yeah.
4 years at Cornell University.
It was tough. It was tough. It was a lot of work.
It was
it was cold.
grueling,
Ithaca's really cold. Ithaca's extremely cold.
Really?
Yeah, but I got out of Ithaca and went to Georgetown for grad school, and that's why I did some work with Dr. King, on Dr. King with a professor, Dr. Michael Eric Dyson, who specialized in Dr. King's history, life, and legacy. And I was fortunate enough to be able to work with him and really learn a lot
let's
about...
talk about Martin Luther King,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
One of the leading lights, leading figures. I mean, anytime you talk about human rights, you cannot talk about human rights without talking about
Yeah.
Martin Luther King
Yeah.
and Mahatma Gandhi and,
Yeah.
these luminaries.
Yeah.
So, did when you first, obviously he was this person that, everyone revered.
Yeah.
And then when you start studying him, what struck you?
What struck me is that Dr. King he had a very interesting duality. It was the preacher king versus king at the pulpit. I mean, he was also he was a religious leader, while at the same time being one that didn't always use his religion to bring people together.
Okay.
And what was interesting is you look and you learn about King and his sort of how he was influenced by Gandhiji, and Gandhi, of course, was a big studier of world religions, and when Dr. King began to learn a bit about him, it really buttressed who he was, and so he was able to pull from more than just the Christian faith. Yeah.
More conversation about Martin Luther King, Mahatma Gandhi, human rights. That's coming up in a short while. But I've got Sweet Home Alabama.
Okay.
How cheesy is that? But I put it on. I had to. You enjoyed the song. Everybody likes
I'm
this
from
one.
the South, Chris. I'm from the South.
Lynyrd Skynyrd's up. Sweet Home Alabama.